Okay, so here's another example that we didn't get to in class. And the question here is what happens if it's not the indeterminate form 0 over 0? What should we do? So if we wind up, like for this problem, if you try to plug it in, you would wind up with 3 over something approaching 0. So this is not the answer. We can't just plug it in. We can't use that limit law because it gives the denominator of 0. But what this tells you is that we're going to have a vertical asymptote at that point, x equals 1. And the question is now, does the limit still exist? Does the limit positive infinity or negative infinity, or maybe it goes to positive infinity from one side but not the other? You know, sort of what do we do? What do we do now? So what I want to do is show you how to look at it from both directions. So first of all, let's consider the limit as we approach 1 from the right. Okay, so as we're approaching 1 from the right, the numerator here, again, this is approaching 3, which is positive, right? And you can think about approaching 3 from the right, although that doesn't matter quite as much. What's happening in the denominator, if you plug in values that are slightly more than 1, like if you plug in 1.1, you'll see that it's approaching 0 from the right side. Okay, so if I plug in 1.1 minus 1, I get 0.1, very small number, so it's approaching 0 from the right side, and then that's being squared. So if you think about it, the numerator is positive, and the denominator is positive, and putting these together, we'll see that it goes towards positive infinity, right? So just in general, if we have something that looks like 3 over something that's approaching 0 from the right, let's plug in a couple values, like 3 over 0.1. That is like 3 divided by a tenth, so that's 30. 3 divided by 0.01, that would be 300. So as the denominator gets closer and closer to 0 from the right side, this value is going towards positive infinity. Okay, and that's something that we've seen before. I just wanted to remind you about that. Okay, so from the right, the limit I would say is positive infinity. What about from the left? So in this case, the numerator is still going to 3, right? And then in the denominator, when we plug in values that are slightly smaller than 1, like 0.9, 0.99, we see that that's approaching 0 from the left. So if I plug in 0.99 and I subtract 1, I get negative 0.01. So it's approaching 0, but from the left. So that's a negative number. But then remember, it's being squared. So the numerator is positive. The denominator is now positive because it's a small negative number, but it's being squared. So again, I get positive infinity. So the limit from the left is also infinity. And because the limits agree, that means we can say the limit as x approaches 1 from either direction will be positive infinity. So again, at this point, I'm getting a vertical asymptote, but now I know from the left side it's going to infinity, and from the right side it's going to infinity.